the carb comeback. Every couple of months, I go through this period in which I discover carbs again. And so the rest of the year, I often then realize, okay, I need to reduce my body fat, and so I go off of carbs. Now, carbs is obviously very simplified, but nonetheless, I then experience in these carb comebacks phases in which I am just so much more performative in terms of my runs, in terms of the gym, for example, that it seems to be this almost a superpower. It's almost like being on a drug where you are almost high. So, in particular, this is the sugar high, I think, which now today, for example, has made me quite performative in the gym. So compared to, let's say, last week, compared to the last couple of days, even the last couple of months, this was now a very above average session. For my trainings plan, for example, for today, I basically exceeded on almost every single exercise the thing that previously was the 1 rep max for now a couple of weeks and even months. And so basically I hit a PR in maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different exercises, just basically because a couple of days ago I got again cereal with sugar, and then today I also ate lots of sugar, so cane sugar mostly, I think, plus also cereal, plus maybe a couple of other things as well. And it seems to align also with something else. And this alignment of the carb comeback might be also seasonal. I don't know specifically whether it is kind of the situation in which I also am able to just consume overall more calories. So this could also be a factor. And the season is that basically fall begins. If fall begins, it seems to be the case that suddenly I am much more alert. Suddenly I am basically kind of waking up from this summer slumber in which I often cannot sleep that well. It's constantly way too hot for me, and I just basically, if I overconsume nutrition in the summer, I don't have any where this can go. My body can produce heat, but I cannot really counter the heat because heat is just an additional stressor then. In winter, I just open the window, I just go out for 10 minutes, especially in winter, if it's actually winter, and then I can kind of steam off the additional carbohydrates, for example, that I might have overconsumed. It's like with great power comes great responsibility, and this might apply to carbs. I often think about creatine, I often think about this, and what if I do this, and this might give me 1% increase in terms of my workout performance, and then I basically ate spoons of cocoa with sugar before the workout today, and I'm like hitting PRs just like never before. Of course, there could be other things as well that align, but the common factor between these sessions where I hit PR after PR is that I had lots of carbs before. And so I in the last years now, again and again, have doubted this. And then eventually I realized that I get fatter and fatter and fatter, and I still kind of have these phases. So last year, for example, I had a very similar phase, and then I actually hit faster and faster runs. I was able to run longer and longer until I then reached my kind of peak weight, but also peak fat. And I decided to try to cut down again on this. So now there might be different factors to this, or different explanations, and many of these explanations might be part of the story, of the overarching story. So there might be multiple variables with the weights. So one of these would be that if I just overconsume, then my body has just plenty of micronutrients, but also macronutrients. So I'm not limiting my progress in terms of cardiovascular fitness, but also in terms of strength by basically anything, or not that much, compared to if I constrain things. If I only eat 2,000 calories, then it might be vitamin A that's too little. Of course, I'm taking a multivitamin, but there could be many different things if I consume a vegan protein powder on a given day, for example, and I don't eat meat, which often happens, and then the next day and the next day, it might be that I basically go from constraint to constraint to constraint, and there might be always something that's just constraining my progress a little bit. Whereas if I overconsume, and then I just go out and burn off additional calories, either by working out more intense, which this then also allows me to do, or by basically just doing additional cold exposure, which in summer is just not that easy. I mean, I could get a cold bath, but I just could not find a solution which would be, first of all, as affordable as I would need, and second of all, also practical. And I don't want to manage too much, and it should be simple, it should be easy. And so I haven't really found something. Of course, you can shower cold in summer, but of course, this is only true for maybe the morning, maybe the evening, and you don't wanna shower 15 times a day or something like this, which would be a waste of water. And well, also it just would take way too long and too much time. So I can only resort to basically increasing my baseline activity a little bit, trying to get more steps in summer. So basically, in summer I am constrained because I cannot overconsume calories. And of course, overconsuming calories is already I already assume that I overconsume. Basically, I'm eating too much, but then I can do additional cold exposure and something like this, which then might explain why I then can take up taking in more carbs, and I am able to eat more carbs. I am able to eat like a box of cereal and then it's gone. And so yesterday, for example, I ate like 5,000 calories, and I quite easily can hit like 7,000 calories or 8,000 calories with food like this because it's just a sugar, and I'm seemingly very prone to just being addicted to sugar or just constantly wanting sugar then, which is also the reason then I cut it out, because I seem to become more impulsive, not only in terms of the eating behavior but also in other areas as well. And then I land up again in basically stagnating progress, which then is to some extent probably constrained by the carbs and maybe also by the overconsumption or by the underconsumption of food. Or maybe if I have an equal energy, then I basically have something that is constraining. It might be a particular amino acid or something like this, which then constrains basically how much progress I am making.